On a quiet summer weekend in 2019, in a house on Castlemore Avenue in Markham, Ontario, Canada, 4 family members of the same family were murdered. Almost no one in the neighborhood knows anything is wrong. But hundreds of kilometers away, on a private gaming server, strangers are staring at their screens, watching a horror story unfold in real time. A young man they know only from his username is typing things no one wants to believe. I killed my mom. I killed my dad. Pictures, details, a calm play-by-play that feels like it has to be a sick joke. But it isn't. By the time police walk through the front door of that Markham house, 4 people are dead. A mother, a father, a daughter, and a grandmother. And the person standing inside is the same young man who has been confessing online. This is Haunted Action. I am your host Nazif. Today we are talking about the Zaman family tragedy, Menhaz Zaman, and the murder of his family.
The Haunted Action podcast contains mature themes, including references to real-world crime and disturbing events. It is intended for adult audiences. While non-graphic, some listeners may find the content distressing. Please listen with care, pause if you need to, and use headphones around others. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to Haunted Action, where true crime meets the things we can't quite explain. Every week, we step into the dark corners of real events, unsolved mysteries, chilling murders, and supernatural haunted stories. Some of what you'll hear is documented fact. Some comes from eyewitness accounts, folklore, and local legends. You decide what you believe. This is not a show for the faint of heart. We talk about violence, death, and fear, and sometimes the monsters are human. Sometimes we're not so sure. So lock your doors, dim the lights, and if you're listening alone, maybe don't. Welcome to Haunted Action. Listen to all episodes at hauntedaction.com.
On July 27, 2019, in the quiet suburb of Markham, Ontario, 4 members of the Zaman family were murdered in their own home. The perpetrator was not an intruder or a stranger, but rather the eldest son, Menhaz Zaman. This case shocked the nation and raised profound questions about family pressure, deception, and the devastating consequences of living a double life. We will explore the background of this tragedy, the events that led to these horrific crimes, the investigations that followed, and the legal proceedings that brought Menhaz Zaman to justice. Welcome to Haunted Action Podcast. Today we will examine one of the most disturbing family annihilation cases in the Canadian history. Menhaz Zaman was born in 1996 to a Bangladeshi immigrant family living in the Greater Toronto area. His parents, Moniruz Zaman and Momotaz Begum, had come to Canada seeking better opportunities for their children. They worked hard to establish themselves in their new country and placed enormous emphasis on education and professional success. Menhaz had 2 younger siblings, a sister named Malesa Zaman and a brother. The family was close-knit and deeply involved in their local Bangladeshi communities. Menhaz Zaman, the father, worked as a technician and was described by neighbors and colleagues as a dedicated family man. Mumtaz Begum, the mother, was a homemaker. She was devoted to herself to raising her children and maintaining the households. The family lived in a modest home in Markham, a diverse suburb northeast of Toronto. Like many immigrant families, the Zamans had high expectations of their children, particularly for Menhaz, as the eldest son. Education was seen as the pathway to success and stability in their adopted country. Menhaz attended local schools and was generally regarded as a quiet, intelligent student. He enrolled at York University in Toronto with plans to study engineering, a field his parents strongly encouraged. For immigrant families like the Zamans, having a child become an engineer or doctor represented the fulfillment of their sacrifices and dreams. Menhaz understood these expectations and initially appeared to be on track to meet them. However, beneath the surface, he was struggling in ways his family did not recognize. The pressure to succeed academically and professionally was immense, and Menhaz began to falter under its weight. In reality, Menhaz had dropped out of the university years before the murders occurred. He had failed multiple courses and eventually stopped attending classes altogether. However, he never told his family about his failure. Instead, he constructed an elaborate deception that would last for several years. Each day, he would leave home as if going to classes or work, maintaining the illusion that he was progressing toward his engineering degree. He spent his days at coffee shops, libraries, and gaming cafes, often playing video games for hours. He became deeply involved in online gaming communities, where he could escape the reality of his situation and the shame he felt about his failures. Menhaz's deception extended beyond simply hiding his dropout status. He fabricated stories about his academic progress, invented job offers, and even created fake email accounts to send his parents fraudulent correspondence from the university. He told his family he was on track to graduate and he had secured employment with an engineering firm. His parents were proud and relieved, believing their eldest son was fulfilling the promise they had seen in him. Menhaz had become skilled at maintaining his lies, carefully managing every detail to prevent the discovery. As the years passed, the web of deception became increasingly difficult to sustain. Menhaz knew that eventually his lies would be exposed. His supposed graduation date was approaching, and his family expected to attend a ceremony that would never happen. The pressure of maintaining his false narrative while knowing its inevitable collapse created enormous psychological stress. Rather than confessing the truth and facing the disappointment and anger of his family, Menhaz began to contemplate a far more sinister solution. In the months leading up to the murders, Menhaz's behavior showed signs of deterioration, though these were not apparent to his family. He spent increasing amounts of times isolated in his room, engaged in online gaming and browsing dark corners of the internet. He participated in Discord servers and online forums where he discussed violent fantasies and expressed nihilistic views. He researched family annihilation cases and showed interest in other perpetrators who had killed their relatives. These searches demonstrated premeditation and planning. Menhaz also began making disturbing statements in online communities. He posted about his situation, describing his years of deception and expressing the belief that he had no way out. Some online acquaintances later reported that he had made vague references to harming his family. In retrospect, these were clear warning signs, but they occurred in anonymous online spaces where users often make provocative statements without genuine intent. No one who encountered these messages took action to alert authorities or reach out to the Zaman family. The anonymity of the internet allowed Menhaz to express his darkest thoughts without immediate consequences. The murders occurred on July 27, 2019, beginning in the afternoon and continuing into the evening. According to court records, Menhaz's grandmother, 59-year-old Firoza Begum, was the first victim. She was visiting from Bangladesh and staying with the family. That afternoon, while alone in the house with Menhaz, she was attacked with a crowbar. The initial blows were delivered to her head, causing severe blunt force trauma. Menhaz then used a knife to inflict additional injuries. After killing his grandmother, he moved her body and began waiting for the next family member to arrive. His mother, 50-year-old Momtaz Begum, returned home later that afternoon. She was attacked in a similar manner, first struck with a crowbar and then stabbed multiple times with a knife. The medical examiner would later determine she suffered injuries to her head, neck, and torso. Menhaz then concealed her body and continued waiting. Very surprising, but it is reported that in between this time, he even played video games and took a nap. In the early evening, 59-year-old Menhaz Zaman arrived home from work. According to Menhaz's confession, he ambushed his father shortly after he entered the house. The attack followed the same pattern. Blunt force trauma from the crowbar followed by multiple stab wounds. Court documents indicated that Menhaz Zaman sustained severe head injuries and numerous defensive wounds, suggesting he attempted to fight back before succumbing to his injuries. Hours later, 21-year-old Menhaz Zaman returned home. She was the final victim. Menhaz attacked her with both weapons, and forensic evidence showed she also suffered defensive injuries, indicating she tried to resist. The autopsy reports revealed that 4 victims died from a combination of blunt force trauma and sharp force injuries. The attacks were sustained and brutal, with each victim receiving multiple wounds. The entire sequence of murders spanned approximately 6 hours, during which Menhaz methodically waited for each family member to return home before executing his plan to murder. After killing all 4 family members, Menhaz did something that would prove crucial to his capture. He began posting messages and images to an online Discord server, a platform popular with gamers. He shared photographs of the victims' bodies and confessed to the murders in real time. He wrote messages explaining what he had done and why. He described his years of deception and his belief that killing his family was more preferable than facing their disappointment and anger. The online community's reaction was mixed. Some users believed the posts were fake or part of an elaborate hoax, as shocking content is sometimes shared online for attention. However, others recognized the authenticity of the images and the seriousness of the situation. Several Discord users began attempting to identify Menhaz's location and contact the authorities. This crowdsourced investigation would ultimately lead police to the Zaman home. Concerned members of the online community contacted police in various jurisdictions, trying to report what they had witnessed. Eventually, through the combined effort of multiple individuals analyzing the photographs and Menhaz's posting history, the investigators were able to identify the Markham home address. York Regional Police were dispatched to the Zaman family home. Police arrived at the residence in the early morning hours of July 28, 2019, approximately 12 hours after the first murder had occurred. Menhaz did not resist arrest. He surrendered peacefully when police made contact, showing no emotion or remorse. Inside the home, officers discovered the bodies of all 4 victims. The scene was horrific, with evidence of extreme violence throughout multiple rooms. He explained his motivation, describing the years of lies about his education and employment, and his fear of being exposed. He told investigators that he believed killing his family was more merciful than allowing them to live with the shame of his failures. His confession was calm and matter of fact, showing a disturbing lack of emotional response to the magnitude of his crimes. The investigation revealed the full extent of Menhaz's deception. Police contacted York University and confirmed that he had not been enrolled for several years. They traced his activities during the time he was supposedly attending classes and working, discovering his pattern of spending days at public locations and gaming cafes. They examined his computer, online activity, finding his searches about family annihilation cases, and his participation in forums where he had discussed his situation. They also recovered the Discord messages and images he had posted, which provided a real-time documentation of his crimes and mindset. Forensic analysis of the crime scene confirmed the sequence of events Menhaz had described. The medical examiner determined that each victim had died from multiple blunt force and sharp force injuries. The grandmother had been killed first, followed by the mother, then the father, and finally the sister. The time between the first and last murder was approximately 6 hours, during which Menhaz had waited calmly for each family member to arrive home, and these were deliberate, planned executions. The Markham community was devastated by the news of the murders. The Zaman family had been well known and respected in the local Bangladeshi community. Neighbors described them as kind, quiet people. The revelation that Menhaz had killed his entire family was incomprehensible to those who knew them. The case received extensive media coverage across Canada and internationally, sparking discussions about family pressure, mental health, and the dangers of living a double life. Menhaz Zaman was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder. The charges reflected the premeditated and deliberate nature of the crimes. He remained in custody as the case proceeded through the legal system. The mandatory sentence for first-degree murder in Canada is life imprisonment with no possibility of parole for 25 years. The trial began in 2020 but faced delays due to the COVID-19 pandemic. During this time, Menhaz remained in custody at a maximum security facility. Psychiatric evaluations were conducted to assess his mental state at the time of the murders and his fitness to stand trial. These evaluations found that while Menhaz had experienced significant psychological stress related to his deception and fear of exposure, he understood the nature and consequences of his actions. He was found criminally responsible for his crimes, meaning he could not use mental illness as a defense. On October 2020, Menhaz pleaded guilty to all 4 counts of first-degree murder. By entering a guilty plea, he avoided a lengthy trial and spared the community and extended family from having to endure detailed testimony about the murders. However, a sentencing hearing was still required. During this hearing, victim impact statements were read, and the court heard from family members and community representatives about the devastating effect of these crimes. The statements painted a picture of the victims as loving, hardworking people who had dedicated their lives to the family and the community. The victim impact statements were particularly powerful. Extended family members described a loss of Firoza Begum, the grandmother who had traveled from Bangladesh to visit her family and had been brutally murdered. They spoke of Momotaz Begum, a devoted mother who had sacrificed everything about their children. They remembered Menhaz Zaman, a hardworking father who had built a life in Canada to provide opportunities for his family. And they mourned Melissa Zaman, a young woman with her entire future ahead of her, whose life was cut short by her own brother. The emotional weight of these statements filled the courtroom. The Crown prosecutor emphasized the aggravating factors in the case. These included the vulnerability of the victims, who were attacked in their own home by someone they trusted completely. The prosecutor highlighted the premeditation evident in Menhaz's actions, his waiting for each family member to arrive home, and his methodical execution plan. The extreme violence of the attacks was noted, as was Menhaz's disturbing behavior in posting images of his victims online. The defense presented mitigating factors, though these were limited given the nature of the crimes. Defense counsel argued that Menhaz had experienced significant psychological pressure related to his academic failure and fear of disappointing his family. They suggested that cultural factors and the high expectations placed on him as the eldest son of an immigrant family had contributed to his mental state. They noted his youth at the time of the crimes and his lack of prior criminal history. They also pointed to his guilty plea as evidence of remorse and acceptance of responsibility, though many observers questioned whether his plea was motivated by genuine remorse or simply an acknowledgement of the overwhelming evidence against him. On November 27, 2020, Justice Michel Furest of the Ontario Supreme Court of Justice sentenced Menhaz Zaman to life imprisonment with no possibility of parole for 40 years. This sentence exceeded the mandatory minimum of 25 years for first-degree murder. The judge imposed consecutive periods of parole ineligibility for some of the murders, reflecting the severity and the number of victims. In her sentencing decision, Justice Furest described the crimes as among the most disturbing she had encountered in her career. She noted that Menhaz had destroyed his entire family to avoid facing the consequences of his own failures and deceptions. The sentence of 40 years before parole eligibility means that Menhaz Zaman will be in his 60s before he can even apply for parole. Given the nature of his crimes, it is possible that he will never be released. He will spend the majority of his life in a maximum security federal prison. The Zaman case had a profound impact on the Markham community and the broader Canadian public. It sparked conversations about the pressures faced by children of immigrant families, particularly the emphasis on academic and professional success. Mental health advocates used the case to highlight the importance of open communication with families and the need for young people to feel they can discuss their struggles without fear of severe judgment or rejection. The case also raised questions about the role of online communities and whether there are better mechanisms for identifying and responding to threats made in digital spaces. From a psychological perspective, the Zaman case represents an example of family annihilation, a specific type of homicide where one family member kills multiple other family members. Perpetrators are typically male family members who feel they have failed to meet expectations or maintain their status within the family. They often experience a triggering event that threatens to expose their failures or inadequacies. Rather than face this exposure, they choose to eliminate their family, sometimes viewing this as a form of mercy or as a way to preserve the family's honor by preventing shame. In Menhaz's case, the triggering event was the approaching exposure of his years of deception about his education and employment. His supposed graduation was imminent, and his family expected to celebrate this achievement and meet his employers. The collapse of his lies was inevitable, and he could not conceive of a way to face his family's disappointment and anger. His solution was to eliminate the source of his shame by killing those whose judgment he feared the most. The case also highlights the dangers of social isolation and excessive time spent in online environments. Menhaz spent years living a double life, with his real existence occurring largely in online gaming communities and forums. These spaces became his primary social world, where he could escape the reality of his failures and the pressure of his deceptions. However, they also provided echo chambers where his darkest thoughts could be expressed and in some cases normalized. This case raises questions about how online platforms can better identify and respond to users who express genuine threats of violence. Legal experts have analyzed the Zaman case as an example of how Canadian courts handle particularly heinous crimes within the constraints of the criminal justice system. For first-degree murder, the mandatory minimum period of parole eligibility is 25 years. But judges can impose consecutive periods of multiple murders, as occurred in this case. The 40-year period before parole eligibility reflects the court's recognition of the exceptional severity of Menhaz's crimes and the need to protect society from an individual who demonstrated such extreme violence against his own family. The Zaman family's extended relatives and members of the Bangladeshi community in Markham continue to mourn the loss of 4 beloved family members. Their deaths represent not only a personal tragedy, but also a loss to their community. In the years since the murders, community organizations have worked to provide support for families dealing with academic pressure and mental health challenges, hoping to prevent similar tragedies in the future. This case serves as a severe reminder of the importance of open communication within families and the need for young people to feel they can discuss their failures and struggles without fear of catastrophic consequences. While family expectations and cultural pressures are real and significant, they can never justify violence. Menhaz Zaman had numerous opportunities to confess his deception, seek help, and work to rebuild his life. Instead, he chose to murder 4 innocent people who loved him. As we conclude this examination of the Menhaz Zaman case, we are left with difficult questions about family dynamics, mental health, cultural expectations, and the warning signs of violence. This case reminds us that behind closed doors, families may be struggling with pressures and deceptions that are invisible to the outside world. It underscores the importance of creating environments where young people feel safe to admit failure and seek help. The Zaman family deserved better. They deserved honesty, help, and the opportunity to support their son through his struggles. I am Nazif, and thank you for listening to this episode of Haunted Action. I will again come with another episode where either I will discuss a true crime case, a cold case, supernatural, or a horror incident that will continue to haunt you. Until then, take care